So I'm kind of glad they didn't call this movie Zootopia. I feel like that would have been a little too easy, but thank God they didn't. Let's get into the review. So Zootopia 2 is the sequel to the first Zootopia movie that came out almost a decade ago. Once again features Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman, who were Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde in the first movie. This time around taking place sometime after the events of the first movie. They discovered that there's a snake in Zootopia. Snakes and other kind of reptiles, they have not been seen in Zootopia in a very long time. So they must uncover a new conspiracy and save Zootopia once again. So this is a movie that, when the first Zootopia movie came out, I was actually a huge fan of it. I love the animation, I love the world building, I love the two main characters, I love the message of the movie. I thought it was a great movie. Okay, looking back on it, there were some things I didn't really like about it. Mainly some of the jokes and some of the dialogue I feel like was a little clunky at times. But other than that, I feel like Zootopia still holds up all these years later. And I would say it's one of Disney's better properties within the last 10 years or so. And initially I said to myself, I really want to see a sequel to Zootopia. I definitely need more of this world. I need more of these characters. I was very excited to see a sequel to Zootopia, and I need one immediately, but according to Disney, immediately means about 10 years later. So, yeah. But also at the same time, between the first Zootopia and this one, I was becoming very nervous about it because the rest of the Disney sequels, in my opinion, have just been lackluster. Wreck-It Ralph 2, lackluster. Frozen 2, lackluster. Moana 2, pretty much made for TV. And so when I knew Zootopia 2 was coming out, I was not dreading it, but I was just very, very cautious because I don't want to see a Disney movie that I really loved be tarnished by a less than stellar sequel, kind of like some of those other movies that I mentioned. And so I saw this movie, and honestly, I actually enjoyed it. I would say this movie is about as good as the first movie. I would say there are definitely some things they do better, some things they do a little worse, but I still think it is a pretty solid movie overall, and definitely one of the better Disney sequels of recent memory. So let's get into the things I do like. First off, the animation of this movie is just absolutely stunning. It is gorgeous. The character designs are so well realized. There's a lot of details in them. And also at the same time, the world building itself is still pretty interesting. You definitely get to see some new worlds this time around, and they are pretty fascinating to look at. Again, Zootopia is like one of those worlds where it's like, if I could walk through it, I would. But I feel like the animation and the world building itself are fascinating, and they definitely add to the lore a lot more, not just in the details of like how they're structured and such, but like kind of like know a lot of the backstory too. And like, okay, that's actually kind of interesting. That's actually kind of cool knowing that. And as far as the voice acting goes, Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman are once again awesome as Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde. They are really good in this movie. Their chemistry is very, very strong in this movie once again. And I was kind of worried because like some of the things in the trailer I saw was like they're gonna try to push them away a bit, and I'm like, I'm concerned about that because one of the things that really worked in the first movie was Judy and Nick, and in this movie they definitely use that a lot more, and you definitely understand why they have to go through the things that they have to go through, and it does feel at least natural. So at least I was actually I wasn't as nervous as I was watching the movie, and I feel like their chemistry once again phenomenal. Also, among some of the new voice actors in this movie, Fortune Feimster plays a new character in this movie. I thought she was pretty funny. Kiwi Kwan as the main snake in this movie, he was pretty good, but I wish to use more of him. We'll talk about him. David Strathairn as one of the main villains of the movie, I thought he was pretty good. Andy Samberg as another character, he was pretty good. And also Patrick Warburton's in this movie. I'm not going to complain about Patrick Warburton being in a movie. And also, something I said about the first Zootopia movie looking back on it was that some of the lines of dialogue weren't that great and some of the jokes really didn't land at times. But this movie is more of a comedy. This movie is pretty zany. There are some blink and you miss it jokes that I thought were really good. Some references to various movies. One that was spoiled, and I felt that was very disappointing that I saw a lot of people talking about that spoiler, but since I didn't know about it, it was a blast watching that scene in the movie. Again, I won't spoil it, but there are definitely references to some Disney movies as well that are jokes that's like, yeah, that got me. That was pretty funny. And I would say it's definitely funnier than the first movie. And also, even though it's definitely funnier than the first movie, the message of the movie still stays in line with the first movie in a sense. They do take on a new version of, like, prejudice and how. I won't spoil it because I was actually kind of surprised that they went in this direction. But I do think it's actually very subtle in this movie, unlike the first movie. But I do think that this message also really does work, and I think it's going to maybe bring up more conversations, kind of like the first Utopia did. And also, I was a big shipper of Nick and Judy in this movie. This is kind of getting into my negatives a little bit, but the way they kind of do it, I was kind of laughing in the theater, and I'm like, just bring these two together, damn it. I don't really ship movie characters or TV characters that often, but these two, Nick and Judy, I'm like, they need to be a couple, honestly. And the way they kind of handle some of these things, I'm like, I don't know if I like it or I hate it, but it's just definitely something where I'm like, this is just weird. But anyway, let's get to some of the negatives about this movie. First off, it does the same thing that a lot of Disney sequels and remakes do, in that it kind of repeats stuff from the original movie. And I'm not just talking plot points, but I mean, there are a couple plot points that repeat in this movie, but I won't spoil them by any means. But they repeat a lot of the same lines from the first movie, which I kind of felt was a little distracting at times. It's one of those things where it's like, you could play a drinking game with all the lines that were in the first movie that are now in this movie. So I felt that was a little disappointing. Also, they kind of have a few similar setups in this movie that are kind of, again, it's just not, I don't like it when they kind of just redo stuff from the original movie anymore. I kind of feel like Disney just does that a lot these days, and I was kind of worried about that with this movie. But it's not annoying to the point like something like, say, Star Wars or Mary Poppins. It's just like something where it's like, it's noticeable, but I still think the movie is its own thing. Also, I feel like some characters in this movie could have been used better. Chief Bogo and Clawhauser from the first movie, they're not really in this movie that much, unfortunately, and they're very disappointed. It's very disappointing. Also, a few new characters I felt like they could have done a little bit more. Kiwi Kwan is not in the movie as much as I thought he would be, but I feel like it's enough, and he does a good enough job anyway. And as I also mentioned Patrick Warburton in this movie, which I thought was an odd choice at first. It's like, okay, what are they going to do with his character? Well, they kind of do a few things with his character, but it's just kind of underwhelming. And it's just kind of, I don't want to say it's a knockoff version of Kronk, but at the same time, I'm thinking you could have done something more with his character than just what you're doing now. You clearly want to, but you're just not. And also, I would say there are a few pacing issues here and there, particularly by the end of the movie, where it's like, I kind of want some things to wrap up. I kind of felt like, okay, this movie's kind of wrapping up now. Oh, we still have some time to go. This isn't the end. Okay. Well, okay, I guess we can do this now. But other than that, I would say Zootopia 2 is definitely a much better movie than I anticipated. My fears about this movie were kind of alleviated as I was watching the movie, and I would say that this movie is pretty much on par with the first movie. I will say the animation and the world building are still fantastic. The main characters are still really cool. I do like the voice actors in this movie. I do like the world building again. I do think it is funnier than the first movie. And I still think the message still works in this movie. And I think that it's definitely more subtle than it was in the first movie, but I still really enjoy the first movie. I feel like I'm crapping on the first movie, but I'm not. I really do enjoy the first movie. So even though I enjoyed all those things, I will say again, there are a few pacing issues, some stuff that's repeated from the original movie, and also some characters I feel like could have been used a little bit more. I would still say this is a solid movie. I would still say that this is definitely worth watching. I'll give Zootopia 2 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what is your favorite Disney sequel? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.